All right, you guys, welcome. Thank you all for being here for this special workshop. This is one of the things I love to bring to my author group and the community of brave healers that I have. It's amazing to bring people in to complement what I'm doing as a publisher. I can't do everything. Fiction is not something that I really want to teach or do, but I know a lot of people had questions about this. And it went something like, "Hey, Laura, I'm a little worried about writing this true story. I'm going to need to change the names. I'm nervous about offending somebody," whatever it was. And I would always say back, "Well, there's fiction for that." Right. And so there's an option for you writers to tell powerful stories, taking facts and turning them into fiction. So when I met Sally, who was kind of all about some of that, I was like, yes, let's go. I'm going to have you come in and teach about this and give us a workshop. So Sally, thank you so much for saying yes to this. I'm going to just turn it over to you to introduce yourself to the group and let them know who you are and what you do and all the good things. And then Sally's going to run us through the workshop. We're going to leave a few minutes at the end of the hour for some Q&A. I am going to moderate the chat so that Sally doesn't have to look over there while she's working. So if you have a question or something, just type it in, and then I'll be the one kind of moderating that for her to make sure that she's answering your questions if you have one while we're going. And are going to be some opportunities to share writing and do some writing exercises today, you guys. So have your notebooks and pens. If you don't already, go for it now. Grab it, grab it, grab it. And yeah, Sally, you ready?
I'm ready. I'm going to see if I can share my screen, and hopefully that worked. Can
Yep,
you
you're
see
good.
my screen? Okay. I am dyslexic, so this kind of stuff sometimes is a little challenging for me, but we'll get through it. Like Laura said, thank you. I am going to be teaching you how to write fiction from fact. And just a little bit about me so you know who I am and what I do. I've been a writer since this picture was taken, so about 20 years. My fourth book came out in May of 2023, and it's a young adult novel, and it's based upon my life growing up in a cult. So it's what I did with creating my fiction is what I'm going to be teaching you. I'm a writing coach and a mentor, and I work with my clients and other writers, teaching them how to create their stories. So that's a copy of my book there called The Truth is a Lie. And I did not want to write this as fact because of several reasons. And these might be the same reasons that you're having, which is these people are still alive, worried about a lawsuit. There could be a legal battle going on. I'm not, but I've heard of that before. I didn't want to name names. It's a very traumatic story. And my audience, for myself, my audience is young adult, and they don't read memoirs. Unless you're Taylor Swift or a K-pop band, they're not going to read the story of some lady who grew up in a cult. And a lot of times too, you don't have enough of a story to tell as it might just be a short story. So you can condense a period of your life and make it a novel. So I don't know what everybody's reasons are, but it may be something like this. It could be close to that. And I always like to start with just a little bit of building some framework, because if you're all nonfiction writers, you already have your audience, you already have your genre, you already know all these things. But it's important before you start writing, this is a whole new ballgame for you, is that you need to know who your audience is and who you're writing to. My audience, and I'm just going to use my book as an example, just to keep it easy. My audience was, like I said, young adult. And that's the world that I write in because I'm a young adult and middle grade writer. I'm very familiar with my audience. I know what they like to read. And I also know my genre. So your genre can be anything that you decide. It can be a cozy mystery. It can be sci-fi fantasy. It can be contemporary. It can be the book club lit. So you don't have to stick with just writing a book club lit. You could make your true life story sci-fi fiction fantasy if you want. Or maybe it's a hot romance. I don't know. And then you should know why you're writing this book. Are you writing this book as a healing? Are you writing this to give back? Are you writing this for awareness? Are you writing it because it's such a great story and you need to share it? And oh, I skipped one there. Where? This is really important for you to know too before you start writing, is where, once you have pictured your book and your genre and your audience, I always like to take a little trip to the bookstore and see where my book would fit on those bookshelves. Because if you cannot find a place for your book in a bookstore or a library, there's going to be something wrong there. You're not going to be able to find the readers to read your book. So I always recommend going to a bookstore. Library works just as well. Finding the books that are like yours and actually buying them and reading them, checking them out and reading them. And that's going to help you find your audience as well and connect with your reader. That's why it's a little bit different than writing nonfiction, because you know with nonfiction where it's going to go on the shelf and who's going to read it, because you're very specific. And then the last one is, with all those things in mind, you also know how you're going to publish, because that's going to determine how many words you need to write. And it sounds kind of silly now, and maybe not important, but that's part of the framework you need to know when you start to write, because if you're going to get a publishing contract with a publisher, your word count's going to be higher than if you were going to self-publish it and put it on Amazon, or if you were even going to go to a hybrid like Laura. So those are just a few things to take into account. Let me find my little button here. Okay. I love this one. This is the fun part. You get to create your characters, okay? And you can use people you know and combine them. And they don't even have to be people that were there at the time of this event that took place or whatever you're writing about. You can pick people from the present, the past. You could pick somebody who passed away, whatever. And you get to name your protagonist. That is the hero of your story. And you get to pick their name, their age, all kinds of cool stuff. And your antagonist. That is the monster. That's the evil person. For me, I chose two people for my antagonist and I blended them together. One was my stepfather and one was a boss I had who harassed me continually. I actually combined their personalities and combined their names. But when doing this, also be careful of stereotyping. You don't want to create characters that, for example, you don't want to have the jolly fat person. You don't want to have the skinny rich lady. You don't want to have the angry redhead. Those are all stereotypes. So you want to be authentic with your characters. And that's why I say use real people who you know, combine them. And one thing that I do when I start, before I even start writing, is I have my characters, the ones I plan to use. I say that because sometimes new characters pop up when you're writing, and it does happen. But if you create a character sheet, and actually I have a handout for this and I'll get it to you guys after. The character sheet includes all the things about your character that aren't going to go in the book, but are going to be important to you to build a rounded character that your reader is going to resonate with and connect with. And it's silly things like the hair color, eye color, what's their favorite food, what's their pet peeve, what's their greatest fear, what's their favorite song, what motivates them, do they like to get up early in the morning. It's all of these things that will help you create this character and make it alive. And the last thing on here, and we're going to do this at the end if we have time, and I always recommend you do this before you start writing your book, is to write a journal or a diary as your protagonist. So I have a little notebook here and a pen, and I just spend maybe 10 minutes, 5 minutes. I write 2 pages as my character, like it was the end of her day, and she's journaling. And sometimes that stuff ends up in your book, sometimes it doesn't. But again, what it does is it helps you to create that character that your reader is going to resonate with. Because it's very important when you're writing fiction that who's ever reading your book connects with your characters, or they won't read the book because they're not invested. They don't care what happens to that person or that character. Okay, and then this is very simple. This is what I teach my clients. I know you probably do very detailed outlines for your nonfiction, but for fiction, it's not so much, it's not as important because it's very organic when you're writing, and sometimes things happen when you're writing, and sometimes you take things out, you add things, and it just happens when you're writing. But there are some very important things that need to be in your story. And what I do is I create them as headings, chapter headings. I don't know if you can kind of see over here in this picture, but I'm not going to go in depth for this workshop, but my headings are typically the things or the events that I need to happen, and I lay it out. So, and I make sure it's in a story arc. So all books, short stories, and screenplays have that story arc. They have a beginning, middle, and an end. They have that inciting incident. They have a point of no return, and they have a resolution. So quick example, Star Wars, inciting incident is when Luke Skywalker meets R2-D2 and C-3PO when he gets that little video and he has to go and save the princess. And so that's what your inciting incident is, when your character has to make a choice and they have to move forward. They can't stay where they are. If they stay where they are, you make them very uncomfortable until they move forward. And they keep going until there's a point of no return. And that point of no return is exactly what that means. They have to go to A or B and make things right. And then there's the resolution where you tie up all the loose ends, and then there's the closing. Very simple formula, but in between, there's you're adding some characters, you're adding incidents, you're adding more tension with to your character. But I like to keep the outline simple so that you can see the points that you need to hit. So I'm going to show you my very small, brief outline that was for my book. And I had 38 chapters. So you can see this is only 11. I started at the very beginning, and it was my character's last day of school. And I just set up her emotional state, and I set up her world, so the reader was invested in her already. The second scene, I started amping up the pressure a little bit. She gets home, she's lost her bedroom to her mom's Bible student, Rachel, and she has to move into her bedroom with her little sisters, which if you're in high school, that's traumatic. And then chapter 3, that's my inciting incident. It's around page 20. It has to happen early. Rachel tells Sarah a secret, and Sarah at that point has to decide what to do with the secret. And at that point, her life is completely changed, and she begins to discover lies, and she begins to question her beliefs. She begins to question everything. And the stakes keep getting raised for her. Every chapter, I like to call it throwing rocks, but I throw like little pebbles. Chapter 4, she met her crush. And then we keep on going down until there's a point of no return. And in my book, it was Sarah had to make a choice between going to the police and reporting somebody, or staying within the cult and having her family just stay the way it was. She chose to go to the police. And then there was some conflict, and then there was resolution. So part of this being fiction from fact, I condensed a 4 or 5 year period down into about 3 months. And that's something that you can do with fiction, because sometimes life isn't that exciting and you don't need to put in every detail. What you're trying to do is keep the tension going so that your reader is wanting to turn the page and find out what happens to that character and be rooting for them. So let me see what I have next. Oh, now it's Let's Write.
Hey, Sally,
Go ahead.
story arc, we use the term ARC, Advanced Reader Copy and Publishing, but ARC, this is just story arc. There's no acronym to ARC, correct?
Correct. Story arc is just the arc of how, you have the beginning, the middle, and the end, and the tension amps up through the whole book until you get about here, and then it should come back down. Yeah. I forgot about the other arc.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so gonna write. This is the biggest question and the biggest obstacle that people have, and it's where to start. Again, this is different because you're writing fiction. In your nonfiction, you have a clear place of where you're going to start because you've got that message that you're trying to tell. And so what I recommend with people is don't worry about it. Don't worry about where you start. Some people start at the very end. They do their last chapter first. Some people, and I've done this, I started with just a very vague idea in a few sentences, and they ended up in the middle of my book, not the beginning. But the most important thing is I tell you not to worry about it, not to fret, is because typically your first 10 pages are thrown away anyway. So I don't want you to be stopped about starting because you're so worried about not getting it right. And it's okay if you don't get it right. You can erase it. If you never start, you have nothing to erase. But literally every book I've written, and I've written probably 10 now, novels, is the first 10 pages are usually gone. Okay, and then I don't know if what you're writing has trigger or trauma. Mine had a lot of triggers and a lot of trauma, and I had a trigger warning at the beginning for people. But I always want to make sure that when you're starting this, that you are in a place mentally and emotionally where you can write this, and where you have a team, a support team around you, whether it's family and friends, therapist, whatever. But it's important that you have that, because you are going to be bringing up emotions and memories are going to pop up that maybe you forgot about. So it's very important to have that in place. And you guys are all in the healing world, so I know you all have tools and things to help you with. But what do you do if it is triggering? There's just a few tips that I use with people, and one is, because you're writing this as fiction, you've already done one of the major steps. Your character, your main character, does not have to be you. You can take yourself out of the story by your channeling through your main character. Your main character can be wielding that sword that maybe you never got to wield. And she or he can be the powerhouse that you wanted to be, maybe, and you couldn't be. Also, if it comes to a spot where you really need to finish a section, but you're not quite there yet, just put a placeholder there. What I did is I stopped in those areas and I just put big X's on that section, or I made a note in the comments to come back here and finish it. And then when I was in a better place, I went back and I finished it. And something else that some people have done is they've also dictated it. You can dictate into Microsoft Word. I don't know if you know that. Or you can dictate it into your phone, one and done, and then have someone else transcribe it into Word for you or into whatever program you're using. But also, I want you to use caution, depending upon who your audience is. You don't need to go into a lot of detail sometimes. For me, my book has that's the right word, has sexual trauma, sexual abuse. I did not describe the actions in my book because I'm young adult, and it did not help my story because my story was more about how my character dealt with the secrets that she was learning. So you don't always have to put all those details in. But your reader is going to know, though, if you're holding back. So there's a fine line between going a little bit deeper into your emotions and just staying surface level. Okay, so now I have a writing exercise. So hopefully you guys all brought paper. You could use your computer if you want, but when I give writing exercises, by the way, I believe in doing them by hand and on paper. And my reasoning is because when you're writing by hand, you're formulating the words in your brain and your heart. They're going through your body, down in your hand. It's very tactile, and you're feeling the words come out on the paper versus typing on the keyboard. Typing on the keyboard is cold, and you can also stop and change it. When you're handwriting, it just flows. And if you make a mistake, it stays, and it's okay. I don't care if you make a mistake. Mistakes sometimes turn out to be something that you use in your book. So this was actually the something that one of my clients who's writing fiction, this was her opening to her book. And I'm going to read it, and I want your thoughts on this, and then I'll tell you what the writing exercise is. I was born in the summer of 1971 in Riverside, California. My mother was an alcoholic. I was born addicted. My mother was a full-blooded Athabascan Indian of the Athna tribe in Chitnia, Alaska. So any thoughts?
I thought that was a pretty good hook.
It's a pretty good hook, but does it sound like fiction or does it sound like facts?
It sounds like facts.
Okay. So what I want you guys to do, I'm going to keep this up on the screen, and then I'm going to give you 5 minutes. And what I want you to do is create your character in your head real quick, and write this as fiction. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be what you think it would sound like if it was fiction.
So we're taking your paragraph here on the screen, and
Correct.
we're going to create a fictional paragraph out of this.
Correct. And there's
Okay.
nothing right and there's nothing wrong. You can be any character you want, any point of view you want, past or present tense, first person, whatever you feel like, whatever you're drawn to. I just want to see how you can craft this into something that sounds like you would read it in whatever genre that you're going to be writing. It could be sci-fi. I don't care.
Okay, and we have 5 minutes?
Yeah, 5 minutes. I'll start my timer.
Okay, so for anyone watching the replay, we're going to be quiet now for about 5 minutes so you can write.
You got about 30 seconds. Okay. Let me get my other, okay. Is everybody done? I can't see everybody's faces, so.
Well, done as we're ever gonna be,
Done.
I guess.
Yeah, it's just an exercise, and this is something you can practice with your own facts. But I'm going to read you what I came up with, and then I would love for you guys to share what you came up with. I came up with, it was the summer of 1971, the summer of hippies, peace, and the Vietnam War. Mama leaned against the hot concrete wall of the shelter, her lips dry. The first contraction came fast and hard. She longed for a drink, but she'd finished her last stolen bottle. Her belly was too swollen now, and no one would sell her any. It was too late. It was too late, too, to go back home to the cool air of Alaska. They wouldn't accept her back anyway, the tribe elders had spoken. So, do you see what I did there?
Oh, you were so good at that.
So mine is a young adult, because that's who I write for. That's my genre. And I set the scene up there because I knew it was the summer of 71, and I knew it was hot. I know Riverside is like a desert. And so I kind of put some time and placeholders in there. And then I set up the mom as being an alcoholic, and obviously she's pregnant and about to give birth. So I kind of covered all of those things in there, but I didn't tell them is fact. So I would love to hear anyone else. We have any volunteers? Don't be scared. I think
So
Pam,
Pam
please
raised your hand.
share.
Do you want to, so for this part, do you want to not share your screen and so we can see who's reading?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, let me see.
Okay. Awesome.
How's that?
Thank you. Yeah. Pam, want to read?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'm just doing this to get it over with. I'm going first. So I've got, being born to an alcoholic mother was not the way I would have chosen to start my life. In the early 70s, drinking while pregnant wasn't even noticed, especially in Riverside, California.
That's good.
That's as far as I got.
That's a good start. It's good. Okay, Lori says she misunderstood, so now I want to hear what Lori wrote. Or Lisa. It's okay. There's nothing right or wrong. Lisa?
I totally misunderstood the exercise too. But I like what I wrote. So
Okay.
that day in the hall where Stephanie walked up to my locker and slammed the metal door in my face, grazing my nose and catching my hair in the lock as I organized myself before class, came rushing into my memory as my therapist asked if I knew of a time where my trauma response took over me and I didn't control myself well. Stephanie was a jerk, a class A bitch, if you will. Her constant threats really got to me. I was always shy on purpose because I didn't want anyone to know the truth about me. I didn't want the teachers treating me like a case, and I wanted my friends to be friends, not people who made fun of me. I had to do everything for myself. My mother isn't a mother, but someone who ignores me until she needs something. My nervous system is always engaged, and then I run out of time.
No, that's good. So you took your own story, I'm assuming.
No,
You just made that up?
yeah,
That was good. And you know what?
thank you.
That could be from this, because this woman was born, she was addicted to alcoholism, or addicted to alcohol. She's also got, she's schizophrenic, and it actually could be her story. So, anybody else want to share? Don't be shy.
Christina is raising her hand.
I can't see it. Oh, there she is. Okay.
Christina, go ahead and unmute.
Christina, please share. You got to unmute.
You got to unmute. Oh,
There
you
you
got
go.
it.
She got
I
it.
got it. Okay, I didn't include all the details. Like I left out the 1971 and the where she is from because it just kind of like didn't flow into it.
That's
the way
okay.
Okay. And actually I've written a few like fiction books and published them on Amazon already. So like I kind of anyways, and I love it. Like I love fiction because anything is possible.
It's true.
Okay. Chelsea was born in the hottest month of summer near the coast where anything is possible. While most babies are born craving milk, she craves the other bottle thanks to her alcoholic mother.
Ooh. Ooh, that gave me shivers. That was good. Okay. No, anybody else want to share? We got time. We can do one more. Pamela.
So what I wrote was the summer of 1971, when I was born. When I was born, alcohol addicted, and arrived in suburban Riverside, California, was hot and uncomfortable. I have been told that my mom's drinking had gotten out of control again, as she sadly continued down the precipice of so many others of her Athabascan Alaskan Indian tribes people.
Okay, that's good. That's good. How you feel?
I don't like it very much.
But it's a start. So that's the thing about when you're writing fiction, sometimes you just write it and then to get it out. And then when you come back and read it, you can fix it and adjust it and do what you want. It might change. And if that's your opening, you might throw it away anyway. So anybody else? Because I got to do our next exercise. If not, okay, let me go back to sharing my screen. This one. Okay. All right, so we did. Okay, so this one is a little bit harder. But this exercise is designed to teach you how to use your emotions and all your senses with your characters. So if you think back to the very beginning, and I should have had you do this at the beginning, and I did this backwards. I apologize. Your character, you're going to write this as your character. So that's why I did this backwards. I should have had you pick a character before when we were talking about characters. So what I want you to do is just go back to a pivotal moment. So you're gonna need your paper, and this part we can do live because we're just gonna make a list. So just take 10, 20, 30 seconds and think of a pivotal moment in your life where something changed. It could be happy, it could be sad, it could be, it could be anything, but I want it to be something pivotal, where perhaps you couldn't go back. So then at that time, what age were you? And then think about what kind of feelings were you having during that time? That depends upon the moment. If it was a wedding, you may have been happy. If it was a funeral, you may have been sad. So anxious, happy, sad. Just write down like 3 or 4 of the feelings or emotions that you had. Okay, and then who else was there? Was there a friend? Was it family? Were you alone? Were you in a room full of strangers? Were you in a cold doctor's office all by yourself? So just who else was with you? And then go a little bit deeper. Sometimes it helps if you close your eyes and you think about the sounds that were around you. Was there sounds with nature, you know, wind, lawnmowers, birds, music? Were there people talking, TV, radio, you know? Just think real quick about some of the sounds you heard. And then still, while you're in that same space, think about the smells. Could be, you know, perfume or cooking, or, you know, the smell of a new book, car. Just be very specific. The more specific, the better. And then, what were you wearing? It is important. It sounds silly, but what were you wearing? Were you comfortable? Were your clothes stiff? Were you wearing nothing? Were you wearing, you know, like something that you hated that somebody else, you know, bought for you? Dressy, casual? How did it feel on your skin? And then even like, what was the temperature? Hot, cold, just normal room temperature? Let's see, back to. Okay, so what the writing exercise now is going to be, I don't want you to write this as yourself. I want you to write this pivotal moment that you experienced as somebody else, meaning the character that you're going to create in your book. So if you're writing, you know, a Agatha Christie murder story, and your character is like Agatha Christie, I want you to put, or like Miss Marple, I want you to get into that character and write the scene as if you were that person. And you can take yourself out of it by writing it as a narrator, or you can put yourself more into it by writing as the actual character. And that's why I said we should have probably delved a little deeper into your character, but that's okay. You can just make it up on the fly here as we're going. So what I'll do, I will give you guys, I think maybe 7 minutes. And if I see you're done before then we'll stop, because this one's a little harder than the other one.
And Sally, I just
So-
want to make sure that we've got some Q&A time here at the end. We're already about 15 to the hour. So just
Oh, okay.
heads
Let's
up.
do 5 minutes then. Let's just do 5 minutes. We'll keep it real. We're going to keep it simple. I don't want it to be too difficult. So, go ahead and start. And about 30 seconds left. Okay. Time's up. I'll go ahead and share mine real quick. So this is from my book. Oops. We'll skip that one. This is from my book. So this is a scene. I'm the invisible girl in history class. I fade into the background in my gray and brown dress, the color of dirt. The only way to survive Armageddon and join Jehovah in paradise is to stay hidden and apart from the world. Armageddon is coming soon. That's what the brothers say. I need Jehovah to see my faithfulness to him. I'm 15 and I've been baptized for 1 year. That's 1 year of serving Jehovah every waking moment. I can't slip up, not once, or Jehovah will leave me. Rubbing my thumb, it's nailed true to the quick over the worn edge of my sketchbook. I try to drown out the hum of the voices around me. My classmates are excited about spring break, but Mr. Cooper gave up trying to teach a while ago, throwing his hands up in surrender, saying history can wait. It's not going anywhere. I won't read the rest of it because it's kind of long, but so that's the pivotal moment for me, was sitting in this classroom, waiting for school to end so that I could be in a safe place and get out of there. Although for me, going home wasn't a safe place. So do you see how I threw in her feelings, like what she was afraid of and some of the sounds going on around her. So I made it like I immersed you in the experience. Let me stop sharing real quick. Does anybody want to share what they wrote? Don't be scared. Remember, there's nothing. Okay, we got Lori. Yay.
Since I refused to share last time, I'll share this time. I think I understood it a little bit better.
Okay.
So I wrote it in third person. What the F, she thought to herself as her new husband of only 3 hours is shouting at her. He's shouting, throw a bottle in the back. Oh, there's a bottle in the back seat. Throw it at them. Are you kidding me? George, please stop this nonsense. You're going to get us killed, Sylvia begged through tears as George escalated the ongoing road rage. What the F did I just do? She thought to herself. I just quit my job, got married to a man and about to move to a new city, and I don't know who I married, Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde. The engine screamed in her brain as the cars jockeyed for position, one getting in front of the other. Throw the damn bottle, and then it was time.
Ooh, okay. I feel like we were right there with you in the car, and I'm wondering, where's this guy now?
Forced.
I figured. But I just wanted to give you that writing exercise, and you can just practice that once you know your character and just start practicing some of the scenes so you get the feel for writing and connecting with your reader. I want to save room for Q&A, so I can't see the questions, so let's see.
Yeah, I'm going to help you out with that.
Okay,
And
you help me
also,
out with that.
Another great thing that you guys can do is that, I'll invite any of you to come over to the Right Habit Facebook group. And if you want to post your writings from today, if anybody is brave enough to do that, the Right Habit is on Facebook, and I just dropped the link in the Zoom, and I'll put it down below the video for you guys. We had one question. Last November, I wrote a book during Write a Novel in a Month based on my first year of work here in France as a community's first rabbi since 1943. I decided to write this as fiction based on real life circumstances to protect my community and to make it easier to turn it into a screenplay for series. My question is how to create the balance between giving a group or community or place some beneficial publicity and preserving privacy. Changing names, I think, helps as does combining characters, but what else have you found works?
Well, for me, I didn't want to protect the people, so mine was a little opposite. But you can change the city. You can, I mean, you can change the name of the community and make it similar so that somebody could figure it out if they really tried hard. But changing names, city, and time, even the time, if this is something that took place during the 2000s, you could set it in the 80s, or you can set it in the 90s, or even earlier. So you could change that. I think, and by the way, congratulations on doing NaNoWriMo, which is writing a book in 30 days. I think I answered that.
Awesome. Yeah, she has dropped off the call. So
she did. Okay.
But you answered it on the replay, so that's
okay.
Awesome. Yeah, NaNoWriMo, that's how I pronounce that. I did that back in 2015. It was a pretty cool program and quite a task, right? So write a whole book in 30 days, but totally doable. So Lori wants to know, how different does the story need to be? Some scenarios like mine are pretty unique, so suggestions on how I might change that up. I had the same challenge, Lori.
You mean it was unique that you didn't want anyone to know it was you, or unique that
people would know who I'm talking about? People would know it was me and who I'm talking about.
Okay,
well, I guess my friends and if he ever read the book.
That's where when you go into creating your characters, at the sheet at the beginning, and I'll send you that sheet, create a character that's based upon him and maybe somebody else, like I did with mine. I put a couple people together, and not everybody that you've met in your life needs to be in your book. You could have a random person that you make up that's part of the character.
And I could change the scene as well.
You could change
anything else that's,
if it's road rage, that's that you think will give it away, make it something else.
okay.
Make it going into a store and he's having a temper tantrum and being an asshole to the waiter.
Okay.
For me, honestly, I wouldn't be worried about him reading it. It's his bad behavior, right? So he kind of left it out there for you.
True.
But I mean, if you're worried about repercussions, that's where deciding upon what genre you're going to write in. Is it going to be an adult book? Is it going to be an adult sci-fi book or a mystery? So you can have fun with it. It doesn't have to be the literal retelling of your story as it happened.
Those are great suggestions. Who else has a question before we wrap up here today? I think mine to you, Sally, is that I really struggled to not just go ahead and tell the facts of the story. Like, I was having big trouble making shit up. Like, I don't know why. I could definitely pick another scene or whatever, but for me, it was just easier to write the facts first. So do you ever write the story as it goes and then go back and edit? That's a lot of work.
Yeah, for this, that's why I'm saying when you're doing the outline at the beginning, just keep it simple and do headers. I don't know how good you are with Word, but you can just do chapter headings and just make those things you want to hit. And like I said, my story was condensed. An 8-year period was condensed into 3 months. You don't have to tell everything, and you can actually bring other experiences in there. I used some other experiences of other people who've been in this cult and wove them into my story, because it's fiction. And it's not that it didn't happen. It didn't happen to me the way it happened, but it makes your characters more rounded and gives you more story. So that's why, based upon real life, but you can do whatever you want.
My other question for you is, my interest that I haven't dabbled with in a published way yet is erotica. Mm-hmm. And I want to understand anything I need to know about that particularly. Like, I don't know really who my audience is, but being a healer, I call it spiritual erotica.
Yeah.
Any thoughts, any
question?
Points?
Good thing you asked that, because I write that as under a pen name. And I don't announce that, and I'm not going to tell you my pen name. You won't look at me the same. So there's a great app called Wattpad, and I believe it's for free. It's WATTPAD. And it might be a $5 a month subscription, but you can go on there and you can search, put search terms or keywords in, and all that's going to pop up. And you can just consider it research. Just, you know, find a few stories that you think hit those keywords and then read them. They're usually really short because people just write a chapter and then they keep adding to it. I would definitely try there first and see what's already out there.
Are you talking about just searching to find erotica stories to read as examples? Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah. And you want to do the healing ones? I mean, you could put erotica / healer / you can do all kinds of keywords and look.
Nice.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And that'll kind of give you a general idea of how the look and feel of those, how they look once they're written, and what the readers are enjoying, because you'll see the first ones that pop up are usually the most popular.
So the technical question that you started to answer, and I've had this question asked a bunch of times, is about the pen name. So how the heck are people not going to eventually find out it's me? Like, how have you kept it separate? You know, your email addresses point back to you, your websites point back to you. I've never been schooled in how to keep it anonymous, completely anonymous.
Well, my pen name has its own email address that does not point back to me unless somebody really was like into technology and could really figure that out. I have a social media account that's as my pen name. I don't put my face on it. My pen name, she does not sound like me at all. I made her little bio and doesn't sound like me. So for this instance, that's what I would do. But other people have pen names.
To open your Facebook account with actually you? Like, don't they have to verify it's you?
They use my fake phone number that I have a Google phone number and and my email address are all tied to my Google phone number.
I've never even heard of a Google phone number. Have you guys heard of that? I hadn't.
If you're into dating, you probably have a Google phone number. Just saying.
Okay. Awesome. Good to know.
You just found out a lot about me.
No, I mean, these are questions that, you know, I get asked too, and I'm not really sure where to point people. So that's great. Thank you.
Always have create a separate email address. You can use a Google phone number. And your own social media. If you need to do it on social media, create a different Facebook account or yeah. There isn't really much of that on social media, so it's not really that important. It's getting on those like Wattpad. There's another one that I don't use and I can't think of the name.
Any last question? One more? Going once? Twice? All right.
They
Sally,
can always I was just going to say, they can always reach out to me on Facebook if they have a question that they didn't think about.
Yes, please. Later. And would you verbalize your website so that the replay watchers hear it once?
Yes, it's my name. It's sallylotz.com.
Cool. And what are the services that you offer?
I offer write your book in 30 days, no experience required. I offer hourly book coaching. And I have coming up soon Paper Trail, which is a monthly virtual co-working space for writers and non-writers.
Awesome. All right, you guys. So we'll include the contact information as well below the video. And I can always make an introduction to Sally for you specifically by email. So please let me know.
I think Pamela's got something.
I will never remember Pamela. Okay. So email me later. Email me and I'll do that for you guys.
But Sally, can you just say your email again? See, what's your email?
Okay. My email is hello@sallylotz.com.
LOTTS?
LOTZ.
Oh.
That's Easy enough to remember. Hello at Sally, SallyLotz.com. You guys, you can email Sally.
You can get me through everywhere. My website. Yeah.
Sally, that was awesome. Thank you. That's going to give people such a great start on their fiction journey. I loved it. I hope you guys loved it too. You guys want to give Sally a little wave, a little clapping, a little snapping?
Thank you. I'm glad you all came. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop the video, but we'll hang out for another minute or two if you guys have anything off of camera, off recording. And if you're watching the replay, thank you for being here. And thanks for being in the Brave Badass Healers group, which is where this free workshop was listed. So Sally, thanks again for saying yes and coming in to help, my community do their awesome writing. And we'll see you next time, you guys.